hello, and welcome to Bla Bla Black Sheep, a weekly yarny podcast where I, Sarah Court, the Bessie K Handmaid, answer your yarny questions. Happy New Year and welcome. I am so glad you are here, whether it's your first time joining me or 41st time joining me. I'm happy that you are here. I love doing this weekly podcast and I couldn't do it without you. So thank you for your support. I really, truly appreciate it. Today I'm going to be wearing, you know what guys, it's the new year, and what better excuse to wear bright, bold colors than a new year? You know me, I love really bold colors. And so I pulled out my Zoe Shawl. This is a great one to wrap up in because she can be worn like open and, you know, she's light and lacy, open and just like away from your neck if it's not too chilly, but it's January, so, you know. I'm going to be wearing her a little closer to my neck today. So I'm going to put the point right in the front, and then I'm going to wrap around. I think the key to making shawls not look quite so bulky around your neck is two things. One, the type of shawl you're wearing. If it's got a nice open texture, it's hard for it to get bulky because the fabric is just not as bulky, but then also just laying it nice and flat around the back so that you don't end up with like a big old hump of fabric back there. So I'm wrapping both sides, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and give them a little flip-a-do, just like that. And then open up the bottom part a little bit more. I just looked down and panicked. I was like, wait, did I just put that on backwards? Nope, I didn't. And so it's nice and open, but also keeping my neck nice and warm. Sometimes I like to bring this middle part up, almost like a little turtleneck, just to keep me cozy. So there you go. That's my Zoe Shawl. I'm very cozy today. I have this giant oversized sweater on that comes almost to my knees. I feel a little bit like a little kid. And then just some leggings. So very comfy and cozy to start off the new year. Friends, what is bringing me joy? Let me tell you, I feel like a bit of a party pooper saying this, but it's the truth. It's just the truth. I am so glad to be back in a routine. I love seeing family. But I have always been, and don't worry, I'm getting mine because my oldest is like this too, and it can be challenging to parent someone who is like this. I like my routine. I like to know what to expect. And so when things are all up in the air, it's like real hard to know what to expect. Also, I generally love the holiday season, but it was a particularly tough year with my mom passing so suddenly last summer. I felt like I was the one who had to step up and make sure that like all the things were organized, and Dad had what he needed because he'd never ordered gifts on his own. And so there was just a lot of additional things to do this year. So I'm glad it has passed. It was generally successful, which is lovely. And I'm looking forward to just being back in the routine and getting rolling. Unfortunately, the boys have a couple days, this is awful, a couple days off this month. So I'm not sure we have any weeks this month where they're in school for a full week, which means the routine is still a little mucked up, but it's fine. Let's talk some small businesses. First, I want to back up. I did not tell you that this gorgeous yarn that my Zoe Shawl is in is Cornbread and Honey. I love it so much. It's bold and bright and beautiful, but Tanya has a full array of colors and yarns from bold to neutral. Her advent this last year was surprisingly tame. It was neat to see. So, cornbread and honey, highly recommend. Today, I'm drinking, I'm going to take my cozy off because you can't see it. I am drinking from my handmade to-go mug. This is from Kunstler Studio, which is in my hometown of Des Moines, Iowa. They have a great little shop where they support artisans, which is super cool. And then they've got lots of gorgeous pottery. And I thought the to-go cup was genius because I like to drink my coffee in a handmade mug, but when I need to leave somewhere, my usual mugs don't fit in my cup holder, so then I have to like transfer them. So I thought this was genius. I'll definitely be getting more. And then wrapped around it is my Whalen coffee cozy, which came out at the end of last year. And this is all scraps of Malabrigo yarn from other projects I had done. How fun is that? Love using up those little scraps. And then, oh, earrings. All right, this is my last pair. I told you guys, if you've been with me, you've seen me mess up this name a lot. But I bought 3 pairs of earrings from this company, on Company. They're not like a big company, a shop on Etsy. And I have my sparkly Christmas trees that you saw a lot in the month of December because I love them a bunches. What I'm calling my sweater earrings, and they've got like a little reindeer on them. It looks kind of like a sweater. And then these guys, which I got because I thought, yes, New Year's, this is what I'm going to need in the cold months of winter. Glitter. Glitter is absolutely the thing that's going to make me happy. And so these are from Momenti di Vita, and they've got lots of fun sparkly earrings. They had a whole bunch of Christmas. It's been a little while since I've checked in on the shop. They had a whole bunch of fun Christmas stuff, but I assume, you know, they don't just do Christmas stuff, so they'll continue to update and have new things in it. So I will say, if you don't like shiny or sparkly, they're definitely not for you. Their thing is shiny and sparkly, which I just think is so much fun. So those are my small businesses. You guys, it's going to be a fast, hey, this could be a fast first episode of the year. We're flying here. I don't really have any stories to tell you. We don't even have good snow. Sorry, I'm just kind of boring right now. Maybe next week I'll have a good story. Okay. Anyways, let's keep rolling, I guess. Announcements. So, WIP Wrap Up is here, and I am so excited. You guys, this is one of my favorite events of the year. I'm calling it a challenge this year just to maybe like motivate people a little more, but it's real chill. So don't feel like, I know at the beginning of the year there's like big, change your whole life with this 10-day challenge energy. And that's not what this is. This is a 31-day challenge because there are 31 days in January. And all we're doing is we're gathering up all of those WIPs that you started and haven't finished. Whether that's like something you just started last week or something you started 5 years ago and haven't picked back up again. We're gathering all those things up and we are just supporting each other to knock them out, get them done, frog them or finish them. Oh, it's like a tagline. Frog them or finish them, people. So that's what we're going to be doing this month. It's not too late to join in. I have a whole video on what WIP Wrap Up is and how long it's running and what the prizes are going to be. So I'm not going to go into all of that here. I'll link it in the show notes below, just like all those small businesses I mentioned will be linked in the show notes below. But we're on a roll, and we would love to have you come join us. You can join in a couple ways. I'm just going to point out the public ways that you can join, and that is, like semi-public. I have a Facebook group where we're just sharing what we're working on, and I'm encouraging people and giving tips. And I'll link that below. All you have to do is answer a few questions and come join us. And then also I have a chat group going on Instagram. So if you are an Instagram person and you would like to chat on Instagram, send me a message on Instagram and I will add you to the chat. Oh my gosh, that sun is getting brighter and you can see the shadows that it's creating. I'm sorry. I'm not stopping to go over and change it. It was cloudy when I started. Anyways, so join us for WIP Wrap Up. There are prizes, but the biggest prize of all are A, the community aspect, because there are lots of fun people who join us every year, and B, just the satisfaction of getting some of those projects done. So I would love it if you would join us. Announcement number 2 is that I have a new pattern coming tomorrow. I will share it officially next week on the podcast here, but my email list gets first dibs always. So I will link below if you would like to join my email list. By joining my email list, you'll get updates, you'll get freebies, you will get the best discounts on patterns, premier access on patterns, and all the good stuff I can think of. I try my best to make it worth your while. So I'd love it if you'd sign up for that so you don't miss out. There you go. Those are my announcements. I think we're ready for questions. Thank you to those of you who have been adding your questions to the queue of questions. I really appreciate it. I always want to answer what you want to know about. And so I get a little nervous when the queue runs low, but you guys have been adding questions and I really appreciate it. No question is wrong. No question is, be kind, but generally speaking, like if you want to ask about what it's like to be a designer or, any of that, feel free. I'm happy to share. So let's start off with question number 1. All right. The question is, what happened to the Make 9? I always found so much inspiration from seeing other people's Make 9, but it doesn't seem to be a thing anymore. Any other suggestions for finding inspiration? All right. I remember this. If you were around the gram, some last year, not 2023. I guess that's already 2 years ago. If you were around Instagram in 2021 and 2022, I feel like that's when this got to be a big thing. Maybe 2020. I don't know. That was so long ago. I don't remember. But what makers would do, sometimes designers and like casual makers, what they would do is you would get a 3x3 grid. So I guess when you started this, Canva wasn't really a big thing, which is probably part of the reason why I never did it, because I couldn't be bothered to figure out how you got a 3x3 grid of pictures. Also, I was not oblivious to the fact that I probably wasn't going to get those 9 things done. But I digress. So you would have a 3x3 grid of square pictures, And those would be your make 9. You'd pick 9 patterns that were your goal to make for the upcoming year. So people would share these a lot of times in December. And you would take pictures from the designers generally to share, because they were like aspirational for you. You hadn't made them yet. And then hopefully you would list what the item was and who the designer was, so that then other people, like our question asker, could be like, oh my gosh, that's an amazing sweater. I want to make that too. Or wow, I really love to try socks as well. And that looks like a great sock pattern that this person has. And the point was that you were picking 9 projects that you were then going to make over the next year. And here's why I don't know 100% why it went away, but here's why I think it probably went away. People got too aspirational. There were lots of people who were like, I'm going to make 9 full sweaters. Not like crop sweaters, but like full sweaters. Or I'm going to make like 3 sweaters and 3 giant shawls and a duster cardigan and stockings for my whole family and a tree skirt or something like that. And they were just like, everybody was pretending like they had all the time in the world, and we know we don't. So I think it got to be that people just, it was a fun aspirational tool for a while, but then people realized, like, I never finish any of these. Why am I even making it? Or the other side of that is, even if you had time to make 9 sweaters, you looked at 9 sweaters in December, and then in January, designers put out more sweater patterns, and you were like, oh, I thought I wanted to make this one, but now so-and-so has this sweater pattern out, and I'm going to make that one instead. And so I just think people realized that it was unrealistic to, in December, plan out a whole year's worth of patterns ahead of time. Are there some people who probably still do this? Yeah, I think so. But it's not a popular thing like it used to be. I mean, you used to be almost guaranteed that everybody except for me who you followed on Instagram would do a make 9. And I think I've seen exactly 0 this year. And usually people did them in December. So now that it's January, meh, I doubt people are going to start it now. So that's what it was. And that's why I speculate that it has gone away. But it was fun. It was really fun to see, like, people who you followed, what they thought they would want to make. And a lot of times it would pop up designers that I wasn't familiar with. And so it was fun to not only go seek out that pattern, but like look at their whole pattern catalog. So I agree. It was a fun inspiration, but alas, it is no more. So let's talk about some substitutions for that. One, I guess I don't know. Were you just looking for general inspiration, or were you looking to plan projects for the next year? I'm going to share with you some ways to get general inspiration any time of the year. So, my number 1 tool is Ravelry. I love Ravelry. I'm gonna be honest with you about that. I was not a first adopter. I hadn't started my yarn craft journey when it very first started, but I was not too long after that I joined. And so I've been on Ravelry for a very long time, from when I just was a casual crafter and I just knit, to now I sell my patterns on there. But Ravelry has a lot of great tools for inspiration. So, one if you go to Ravelry and you click on patterns, it will pop up a hot right now list. And so it's going to show you what patterns are selling the most on Ravelry right now. I will say, I mean, it's harmless to look at that, right? That doesn't cost you any money. Sometimes I feel like, oh wow, these are really great patterns. And sometimes I'm like, yeah, that's hot right now. I mean, they're just like either so simple or like the pictures aren't great. I don't know. I guess sometimes I'm a little judgy. But you can also, so if you just go to the hot right now, you'll probably likely find mostly knitting patterns. But you can filter and refine your search and search just for crochet patterns on the hot right now. And then that can narrow it down to things that you'll use if you don't both knit and crochet. Then you can also do your own search. So you can search sweater and then you can narrow it down to crochet or knitting. And then you can even say, like, I have a sweater's quantity of DK weight yarn in my stash. I'd like to make a sweater out of it this year. And you can narrow it down to DK weight. And you can even search within like how many yards you have. So you can say no more than 1,400 yards or whatever, and it'll pull back. I will say it's not the most perfect search. There are definitely some things that I've searched on there that I've been like, well, that doesn't have anything to do with that. So, you know, it's not perfection, but it certainly helps. And then you can, Ravelry has a section on your account called favorites. And so you can favorite patterns that you see. And this is great for, like, a lot of times I will see a pattern that I really like when it releases. And if I'm not ready to, if I don't think I'm going to dive right into it, I will find it on Ravelry and I will favorite it. And then it sits in my favorites. So when I'm looking for something to make, it's there. So next to the pattern on the side, there's a little heart, and you just hit the heart and it'll pop up a button and you can make notes. And so you could say, like, I'm looking for a project for my purple Malabrigo yarn. And so you could tippy tappy in shawl. You can even look Malabrigo, things that are made in Malabrigo yarn, worsted weight, fingering weight, whatever weight you have. And then, did I say shawls? I don't remember. And then you can narrow it down. You can favorite them. And then you could say in the notes on the favorites, purple Malabrigo yarn. And then you can, when you're looking for a project, instead of searching the whole universe of patterns, you could search through your favorites and find things that you already thought you liked, potentially with what yarn you have to make them in already. And then you're like already like steps in the right direction, right? So use Ravelry to search for patterns. Use Ravelry to save patterns, even ones you haven't purchased, for future use and future perusing for inspiration. My other suggestion was just Instagram. I mean, and you can do the same thing that you did on Ravelry with Etsy. I feel like their search can be even a little more finicky, and you can't, depending on how things are listed within the listing, you could get more of a mixed bag. So there's that. The other thing is Instagram hashtags are kind of a thing that it's very like, do we use them? Don't we use them? A lot of the really big people are big enough that they don't have to use them, I guess. But you can still search hashtags when you go into, I was like looking for my phone to see what it looks like, but I'm recording on my phone. I think there's a little magnifying glass is what I think it is at the bottom of the app. And then it's going to pop up like a whole bunch. First of all, it's going to pop up a whole bunch of stuff that they think you'll like. And sometimes they do a real good job there. Sometimes you'll like be, oh, super cute sweater pattern. Or, you know, mine is pretty focused on my business account because I'm pretty focused on my business account. It's a little more like blah, blah, on my personal account where I search, where, you know, I watch dog videos and makeup tutorials, and I follow the National Park Service and politicians and a crunchy mom and like comedians and stuff like that. So it may not be as quite as honed, but in that home search page, you may be able to scroll through and find some inspiration right there. But you can also type in like crochet sweater, and then it'll start to search, but at the very top, it will list like accounts. It lists like 5 things. I don't know what they all are because I only click on accounts and hashtags. And so you can search for that hashtag like that and then see what posts have been using that hashtag. And then maybe that'll get you some inspiration too. So I hope that's helpful. And then I would also say, go find some of your favorite designers and sign up for their newsletters because they're going to send inspiration right to your inbox. You'll get their new patterns. Hopefully they announce them through their newsletter. And then that'll be inspiration for you too, which is fun. If you wanted to go real crazy, you could make a whole new email account just for your yarn stuff and sign up for those newsletters through a new email address, and then it wouldn't be mixed in with like your Target email and your, I don't know, all the other emails you've signed up for, and then it could just be your yarn inspiration email. I don't know. While you're at it, if you're going to go that far, sign up for some emails from some yarn dyers too, because that's some great inspiration as well. All right. Question number 2. I've purchased a few of your patterns and I was wondering if you could explain your skill levels. Yes, I can. Okay, so here's my little story. Back in the day, when my oldest was very young, like very young, I'm like, how deep am I going to go in this story? I'm not going to go that deep. I took a crochet class at a local yarn shop to learn how to crochet. I had been seeing patterns on Ravelry. I would search for hat and I'd be like, that's super cute. And then it would be crochet and I didn't know how to do it. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to take a class. I'm going to learn how to crochet so I can do all the things. And I did, and it was great, but it was very basic. I just learned how to make a square. Like we were just making swatches and I just made a square and I learned the basics, how to chain, how to work some stitches, and that was it. So then I went back to the Ravelry and I was like, all right, I have the skills now. I'm going to do all the fun patterns that I saw. And I started opening up those fun patterns and realized that I still did not have the skills to make the fun patterns because they were like, they were like speaking fluent Spanish, and I had only had my equivalent of high school Spanish, which I laugh at because I took 3 years of Spanish in high school and a semester of Spanish in college. And then we moved to Arizona, and frankly, that Spanish I had been taught was mostly worthless in speaking with native speakers who actually spoke Spanish. And I felt the same way about my crochet skills. I had taken the classes. I felt really good about the classes. I was pretty successful in them. But then out in the real world, I was missing big picture things and little detail things that made me less capable. And so eventually my confidence grew and I started designing. And as I thought about what I wanted to design and how I wanted to present things, I felt like there was a gap. There were beginner patterns that were just like real simple and easy to follow. And then there were intermediate patterns that assumed a certain level of knowledge. But it wasn't like stair step up. It was like you're on the first floor and there's the second floor. But how are you going to get up there? And I felt like I was like trying to climb the wall to get up there. It felt impossible. I started so many projects and put them aside because the gap in my knowledge was just too great. So I decided that my own personal experience, my love of yarn craft, and my natural ability and love of teaching made me the perfect candidate to be the stairs. Such a smooth metaphor, huh? To be the stairs that helped move people from having the basics down to being able to do some more intermediate patterns. And my tier pattern system was born. So when I thought about how do I do that and what do people want to help get from here to there, I thought like there needs to be steps. And so that's what my tier system is. My tier system currently has, and this is a new development, but currently has 5 steps to it. And you're like, what? I thought there were only 3. Here's the dealio. And I need to spend some time this new year updating things. There is a tier 0, which you're never going to see unless I make a learn to crochet class. And the tier 0 patterns are like learn to crochet. You have no knowledge. Those I use in my in-person teaching. So that's why you're not going to see them. Unless you take an in-person class with me, they're not available just out and about. Because the big portion of that is the verbal and demonstrating teaching that I'm doing there. So maybe sometime I'll make that into an online course that you can do with me. But as of now, you can't access that. So that's my tier 0. My tier 1 are small projects. They are mainly cup cozies, and this guy's a little dirty. I'm a little embarrassed. Coasters. Those are my tier 1 patterns. They are very small and they are designed to teach you 1, maybe 2 things. So like this guy teaches you the Bavarian stitch. That's it. There are little tips in this one, I believe, for like how to do the invisible join at the top to make it look fancy. But the whole point of that is that you're going to take that small project, no matter which one it is, and it's going to have all the details you need. usually photo and video tutorials. The instructions are going to be even more spelled out than in some of my other patterns. And the goal is to teach you that one or two things to help you improve your skills. The other thing, and the reason that they are small projects, is that I know as a perfectionist, when I learn something, I will often, most people do, get better as I practice. So sometimes you'll start a project and be really bad at something, but by the end you're like, oh, I'm doing so much better. But then the beginning of your project looks crappy and the end of your project looks nice. So the point of these being small is that you can either be like, that was my first try, it was fun, set it aside. Or you can frog it back and start the whole thing over again and have it all look nice. And you don't feel like, oh, I've put, 30 hours into this. You've put like maybe 3 at the most. So those are my tier 1 patterns. They are meant to be small, froggable, and to teach you something very specific. My tier 2 patterns then take it up a notch. They are slightly bigger, so they're going to be more time put into it. They can be, but aren't always, adding additional stitches. They're typically adding some sort of additional difficulty, whether it's a cowl that has an applied ribbing to it, or like we didn't change colors in the cozy, but we are changing colors in the cowl, or we did the most simple version of the stitch in the cup cozy, but we're gonna like mix it up a little bit more, make it a little more complicated in the cowl. My tier 2 patterns are kind of becoming cowls and my project bags, which I don't have one sitting over here. My little notions bags. So those tend to be my tier 2. So we're taking what you learned in a tier 1, we're stepping it up just a little bit. And then my tier 3 patterns are adding an additional level of difficulty. They tend to be hats, and the difficulty tends to be shaping. I do not care for a hat that is worked in a tube and cinched up. Too much bulkiness. I have enough hair to give me bulkiness. I don't need a bunch of fabric flapping around up there. So I like a good crown shaping. So you're going to learn about, I guess depending on if it's a top down or a bottom up hat, you're either going to work on some increasing or some decreasing. So that's my tier 3, generally speaking, are hats. That was a tough word to come up with. Okay, and then I was discussing last year with my tech editor about all the things. She and I, we're friends as well, so we just chat business sometimes. And she was saying, I almost feel like your shawls are like a whole nother tier. So they are like the tier 4. They're like the next step. You've mastered through the cozy, the cowl, the hat. Now you're ready to do a cowl. So a cowl is obviously a much larger project, for one thing. And almost all of my cowls are a mix of stitches. So whether it's a fancy border or several stitches in the body of the shawl, and so I guess there you go. That's my tier pattern system. Different designers have different philosophies on designating skill level, and I'm not saying you need to be at a certain skill level to do any of these things. What I am saying is the conscious, intentional, designed focus of those patterns is to help you grow in confidence and in skill in your craft. So if you are like, but I just like the hat, then dive into the hat, man. But if you dive into the hat and you're like, oh, this was more complicated than I thought it would be, go back and try the cozy. Or maybe even just back up to the cowl. And there are people who already have the skills, or who are just like adventurous and just dive into big projects. So you're welcome to do them out of order. You may say, I want the hat because I need a hat, and you may work the hat and be like, oh, I enjoy that stitch so much, I need a matching cowl. Or I love the shawl that has that stitch in it too, and I'm gonna make myself a shawl, and then I have a hat and a shawl that coordinate. I don't know. So that's what my tiered pattern system is. If you have any specific questions about any specific patterns, let me know. I'd love to answer them. But for now, that's all I've got for you today. And I still managed to ramble on for almost 40 minutes. So I don't know why I doubted I would. Thank you so much for joining me today. I truly enjoyed this time together. Comment below. Tell me your thoughts on any of the things we talked about today. I always love chatting with you in the comments. I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel. If you're not already subscribed, then YouTube will let you know when I post a new video. It also makes it, I'm subscribed to several other people's channels. It makes it real easy to find their new videos. And I would love it if you'd like this video, because it tells the algorithms that they should share this with more people. And I would love to chat with more people. And on that wavelength, if you really like this, share it with a friend who you think might like it too. I would love that so much, and I would feel so honored. So thank you again for joining me today, and happy crafting.